Hello friends, welcome to my video. This is the story of the same old, same old. Same old, he lived way out in the country. This has been many a year ago. And Mr. Same Old, he'd get up early in the morning, he'd go in the kitchen, he'd get his little pot out, he'd put it on his little stove, and he had a little bitty wood stove. And he would start that wood stove up, he'd get it going good, and he'd make a little pot of coffee, he'd make a little pot of oatmeal, just a little bit, just enough for him, he would buy himself. And he made a little small tin of biscuits. And him and his little doggie, they would sit there and have breakfast on his front porch. And then he would get up and he'd get his cane, and Mr. Same Old, him and his little doggie was named Rice. And Rice and him would go walking along together. And he would go down the path, and there was a lot of little elders that they had their little shacks out there too that they had built many a year ago. He'd walk past them, wave at them, they'd wave at him. "Where are you going, Mr. Same Old?" I'm going to Same Old." They said, "Oh, okay, well, see you later." "All right, bye." So he'd keep on walking. Him and Rice, his little doggie, it was a coon hound. And they went down there and they sat down and had a little tree stump that he always sat on underneath this tree by the bank of this river that went by. And he'd sit there and he'd lean down, he'd pick up a rock or a pebble, he'd look at that for a while, then he would throw it out there. Well, his coonhound would run all the way to the edge of the river, but he wouldn't jump in because coonhounds don't really like water all that well. Now, they'll go through water if they're chasing a coon. But going after a rock that's already sunk, the doggy can't even see it, he ain't going to do it. Why? Because it's the same old. So he turned around, he went back up there, and he sat down by Mr. Same Old. Mr. Same Old spends his day there. He'd get him a twig, he'd sit there and twiddle on it, he'd put it in his mouth, and he'd chew on it. He'd pick him up a stick and he'd twiddle on it. Long about lunchtime, he'd get up and say, "Come on, Rice, let's go. Let's go home, boy." And they'd turn around, he'd get his cane, and they'd go heading on back up the path. It went way up the hill. And he walked on back down through there. He passed the other little elders, and they'd wave at him, he'd wave at them. Mr. Poogle was smoking his pipe. And he took it out of his mouth and sat on his porch and said, "Hey, Mr. Same Old, you see anything different today?" He said, "Same old." He said, "Okay, well, see you later." He'd put his pipe back in his mouth and he'd sit there. Mr. Poogle was a real nice man. He had a nice little garden and stuff. And every now and then, Mr. Same Old would stop and get some tomatoes from him. And he would let him pick him, 4, 5, 6 of them. He also had some good squash, had lots of zucchini squash. Seems like zucchini squash really grows a lot. Seems to me more than any other squash. It just produces so many. But anyway, Mr. Same Old would go back to his little shack, and him and little Rice would go there, and Rice would stay on the porch. He always had the door open. He had a rocking chair out in front. And he'd go in there and he'd make his lunch. And he'd come out there and sit on that little table he sometimes played solitaire on, or he would play dominoes. Mr. Poogle ever came by. Mr. Poogle didn't get out very much. He had fell and hurt his knee years ago, so he didn't really like to get out and walk that much anymore. So Mr. Same Old just spends his days, and his time and his lunches, same old. But that's the story of Mr. Same Old. He did this day in and day out. And I remember Mr. Poogle, I went by to see him one day. He told me, he took his pipe out of his mouth. He said, Mr. Same Old passed away the other day. And he put his pipe back in his mouth. And I said, "The devil, you say?" He took his pipe out. He said, "No. They found him. Rice, his coon dog, was just howling like everything. And he wouldn't stop howling. So there was a couple of elders a little further up the road from me here. They went down there to see what was going on, and they found Mr. Rice. He had passed away evidently at breakfast, when he was having his breakfast that morning, because he was laying over his table, his head was down, and they went up there. He still had his hat on, but they couldn't wake him up, so they had to call the sheriff. Sheriff came out, pronounced him dead. They had the coroner come out there. They wouldn't even remove his body until the coroner came out there. The coroner is justice of the peace there in town. That town's about 30 miles from here. But yeah, Mr. Samo is gone. And you know, everything just same old here. How's it with you? I said, well, it's same old. I said, I'll see you later, Mr. Poogle. You have a good day. Bye-bye for now. Hit the like button, subscribe. See you on the next video.